Hello, and welcome to the TOEFL Test, Your Passport to Study Abroad webinar. My name is Michelle Hampton. I'm Associate Director of Global Client Relations, and I'll be leading the presentation today. When you write your questions, I'll be happy to answer them. We do have quite a bit of material to cover, though, so if it's at all possible, I'd like to go through the presentation first and take your questions at the end. Do still write in when they come up. When a question occurs to you, go ahead and write it in, and then I will answer them in the order in which they're received. Thank you. So let's start. First, in our time together, we're going to be talking about the TOEFL IBT test, which is the internet-based test. It's a 4-skills test, and it is the most widely taken English language proficiency assessment for academic purposes. You'll find that currently 90% of the students who have taken TOEFL get into their first or second choice university. There are over 8,500 institutions worldwide in 130 countries who accept the TOEFL test for your English proficiency. It is certainly one of the most respected and most preferred admissions tests. You'll also find some of the advantages to taking the TOEFL test and using it for your admissions process is that the way that the test is designed helps to make it fair and unbiased. We use more than one person to evaluate your speaking section. In fact, all of the evaluators of your speaking sections are ESL teachers and therefore have taught English as a second or other language around the world and have experience in working with students who are new to acquiring English or are still working to strengthen their skills. We also make sure that the scoring process for the TOEFL test is done away from the test center because we want to make sure that the people who are evaluating it, the scores, the information, the answers you gave, are not influenced by knowing who you are. In fact, your answers will be completely anonymous. So that should give you tremendous comfort. You'll find that you're able to take the TOEFL test in over 4,500 locations in 165 countries worldwide. The test itself emphasizes communicative English, or rather how you use English in a situation, just as you do in everyday conversation. You read material, you talk about it, and then you might respond. So the test is designed to incorporate multiple sources for you to then give your answer. You'll also find that the TOEFL test is used for English proficiency in countries outside the U.S. and always has been since it was created in 1964. The use of TOEFL is determined by whether the courses you will be taking will be taught in English. And in some countries, such as Australia and the United Kingdom, as you can see from this slide, those countries also use your TOEFL information, your scores, to determine giving you your student visa for study. So you'll find that in some cases there are other advantages to taking TOEFL in addition to taking it for your university admission. Let's look a little deeper at how the test is designed. I mentioned before it is a 4-skills test, and what that means is that there are 4 separate skills in using English that are evaluated by the test. The first is reading. As you can see here, you'll either receive 3 or 4 academic text passages to read from, and each passage will have 12 to 14 questions that you must answer. You're allowed anywhere from 60 to 80 minutes to go through those questions and provide your answers. The reading section is scored from a low of 0 to a high of 30. In the case of the listening section, we're assessing your ability to listen and understand what's spoken or said to you in English. So in that case, You could have anywhere from 4 to 6 different lectures that you're listening to as this section of the test. Some will have classroom discussion, and for those you'll have 6 questions for each lecture that you hear that you must answer. If you have the sections and you're listening to the 2 or 3 conversations that you're going to hear, those are conversations set on an academic campus, on a university campus, but between possibly a student and a professor, or a student and the people at the university bookstore, so that it is related to your coursework or your life on campus, but it's not necessarily about a textbook that you've read. The listening section, again, depending on how many lectures you hear, will range from either 60 minutes up to 90 minutes in length. And this section is also scored from a low of 0 to a high of 30. Then all test takers receive a 10-minute break. And when you come back from the break, you have the speaking section. In that speaking section, you have 20 minutes to listen to and respond to the 2 tasks that will express an opinion and the 4 tasks that ask you to speak based on the reading and the listening passages that you'll have in front of you. This section as well is scored from 0 to 30. The writing section is asking you to look at 2 and work on 2 integrated tasks. One integrated task, which is writing based on what you are reading or listening to, and 1 independent task, where you're supporting an opinion on a topic that we provide. So it's 2 tasks or 2 essays that you're writing that make up the writing section. You have 50 minutes to answer both, and you get 1 score for that whole section, anywhere from the low of 0 up to a high of 30. The way we come up with your total score for the TOEFL IBT is that we add your 4 section scores together. That's the reading, listening, speaking, and writing. They're added together, and that gives us a total which can range anywhere from a low of 0 up to a high of 120. Now, when we talk about the TOEFL test, many times we find students have often have the same questions that they want to ask. So what we've done with the next few slides is highlight some of those same questions so that we can share that information with you as well. The first is, how do I register for the TOEFL test? We offer 3 different ways to register. One is to register online, and I'll show you that website a little later. It's www.toeflgoanywhere.org. You can call us, and in some parts of the world you'll also find there are regional call registration centers that you can call to go through the phone registration process. Or you can fill out the paper registration and physically mail that to us. How long is the test in total? Well, we just talked about the 4 sections, but altogether the test itself is roughly about 4 hours to complete. For those of you who might be taking the paper-based test, then that's a little bit shorter. It's 2 hours and a half. If you finish early on either test, you certainly can leave the test center. What do I need to bring with me on test day? Please bring your valid, acceptable identification document. Remember that the name on your document must match the name on your registration that you filled out, either online or on the paper form. So that also means that those documents will be consistent. And that's important so that when your scores reach the university, they can easily match up your scores with your application for admission, and also so that you always receive your score information and it's in one file. So please make sure that all of your names, whenever they appear, are consistent and match. Please remember that you'll need to bring your registration confirmation, which you are sent for TOEFL IBT. and you are sent that information electronically. If you are registering for the TOEFL paper-based test, or PBT, then you actually are mailed an admission ticket and a completed photo file. You must bring both of those with you for the TOEFL paper-based test administration. When will my scores be available? TOEFL IBT scores are usually available online within 10 calendar days of taking the test. In fact, we even send an email notification to you, the test taker, once your scores have been posted online, so that you don't need to worry that you've missed it or can't quite recall when the 10 days would have passed. That email notification from us is telling you, please go to your registration profile and review your scores from your most recent test date. The TOEFL paper-based scores, though, are mailed to the home address you provided on your registration materials within 4 to 5 weeks of the test that you took. Again, that's only true if you take the paper-based version of the test. Otherwise, TOEFL IBT or internet-based test scores are visible online in your TOEFL online registration profile. And they will remain visible for the entire 2 years that your scores are considered valid. So 2 years from the date that you took it, your scores can still be seen at any point 24 hours a day online. Once we reach that 366th day, or the next year, the 3rd year, your scores are no longer visible in your registration profile. We also do not still consider them valid after 2 years. What is the passing score for the TOEFL test? Well, actually, there is no passing score that we at ETS, the makers of TOEFL, set. Instead, each university or score recipient body, such as the Fulbright program, determines what scores they want or require from their applicants. So it's best to check with that university or program that you're applying to find out what are their score requirements. And also keep in mind that those requirements can change over time. So always find out the information as close to when you are applying as possible. I mentioned before that we have a TOEFL GoAnywhere.org website that we've set up for test takers. It houses all of the vital information that you could possibly need to get through the process of finding out how to register for the test, where to take it, what to have on test day, what to expect will happen at the test center on test day, what to do after the test, how do you send your scores to a university, how do I prepare for the test, what sort of things should I do to make sure that I have my best performance on test day. All of that information is housed here at TOEFLGoAnywhere.org. And you'll find as we go through the next few slides, we're going to focus on in detail what these different buttons on that screen will show you. So when you click on the button that indicates Plan, you will find one of the options is to use our TOEFL Journey program. TOEFL Journey was designed for students who are really beginning the process of exploring studying in an English-speaking environment, and therefore what it is they need to do to prepare for that opportunity. This program will explain how much time you should allow yourself to practice and prepare so that you are more capable and able in English. It will also talk about when would be the best time to take the test for you in relation to the admission deadlines at the university programs that you're looking at. So it helps you create a plan or a schedule to determine the best time to go through the exact steps so that on test day you will be ready and able to perform well. It also gives you information on the TOEFL Journey about what to expect throughout the process. Now that you've taken your scores, how do you send them to an institution? How can you make sure then that you're ready to enroll down the line? So it is definitely worth exploring. The next one we're going to look at is if you were to click on the search button on the TOEFL Go Anywhere screen, you will find that you are directed to two different possibilities. One is the institution search. We've gone through all of those schools, colleges, universities, and academic programs that accept TOEFL scores and gathered all the information that they've provided. It has their website, it has the name of the school, the city, state, country, province, location, and it also includes what that particular university put on their website as their score minimum at the time that we gathered this information. So no matter what, if you want the most recent or current information, definitely go to the individual university website. But in using this tool, you can enter, for example, the name of the city that you want to study in, let's say New York or Toronto, and then click search, and all of the universities that are in either city would appear listed for you to choose from. You can click on as many as you wish and review the information. You also will find that you can search by a school name. So let's say that you're interested in going to York University, or you're looking at University of Miami. Then you would enter the school name, either in its totality or just Miami, and all of that information would come up for that specific school. So two different ways to search to find information. And that's great if you know the institution that you're looking at. But sometimes there are test takers who aren't sure what kind of program they're interested in, or maybe which university. So with that information, students might prefer to search using our TOEFL search service. When you register to take the TOEFL test, you fill out and answer certain questions. Some of the things are what you're looking for in a university, a particular part of the world where you'd like to study, a particular academic program or discipline that you choose to pursue. You might want the opportunity to be in a large city environment or a smaller, more rural location. You can indicate all those preferences, and participating in the TOEFL search service will take those preferences and show them to universities that fit your requests. So if you're looking for a large university in a city environment that offers psychology, you will choose from all of those institutions that write back to you and say, hey, we have what you're looking for. You sound like you'd be an ideal candidate to go to our school. Please let us share some information with you. And this you'll find very helpful, again, if you're not sure which university you're looking at, or possibly what part of the world you want to study in. Or maybe you're not even sure which universities offer the particular program you want. So it can be a very useful tool for those students who still have some bigger questions to answer. Now, when you click on the practice button on the TOEFLGoAnywhere.org site, you'll find that there's a great deal of information available that we provide. Much of it is free of charge. Some of it does have a fee attached to it, but it's all designed to help you prepare to be as successful as possible when you take the TOEFL test. Some of the things we'll go through here you'll find you may or may not already be aware of. Did you know that TOEFL has a TOEFL TV channel on YouTube? You can access this around the clock on YouTube and find a great deal of information there. Not only will you see that there are actual videos made by English language teachers or English language students sharing tips to master the language or particularly difficult sounds or words. You'll also find that they're sharing tips as well about how to perform well on the test. So certainly feel free to take advantage of that. We also, on this particular TV channel on YouTube, provide videos that you can watch that will talk specifically about how to prepare for the test, how to make sure that you're ready for the speaking section or the writing section. So you may find some of those videos are particularly helpful. And again, you can watch these as often as you wish because they are always available at a time that's convenient for you. This is a highlight of some of those videos. Again, there's one that I think many students watch, which is the TOEFL resources, an overview for students. This covers everything from preparing to take the test, finding out your resources to help you practice and improve your skills, all the way through how to report your scores and where to send them and how to do that afterwards. You'll also find, as I mentioned, there's that video on speaking and writing to really give you a better sense of the different kinds of questions that are asked in those two sections of the test. Some other videos that are helpful located there would be Welcome to the TOEFL IBT Test Center, giving you a real sense of what an actual test center will look like for you and what you can expect to encounter on the day when you show. How TOEFL itself, how the scores are accepted and used worldwide for English language programs so that you don't have to feel restricted to a particular location to pursue your studies. You'll also find, by looking at that last video, ways in which you can make sure that the admissions officers are getting the kind of information that's helpful for you. And I do see a question again. What score on TOEFL is considered good to qualify for university? As I mentioned before, each university makes up its own mind. So what would be appropriate for one school, because that school also has a very strong English for new speakers program on their campus, or an intensive English program to support students who enroll, they may be able to take a student with a lower overall TOEFL score than a school that has no support services and really expects students to be able to arrive on campus that very first day and on their own be able to communicate well enough to get their desires met, understand what's being spoken to them, and therefore go on in their studies. So really, what score works is still decided by each university and no one else, but it's often influenced by the kind of support that university can give to you as a non-native speaker of English. Now, returning to some of the preparation materials we have available, you will find that in addition to the videos posted on the TOEFL YouTube channel, which is free to access, we also have some additional free materials. Once you register for the TOEFL test, you are automatically sent a link to access the TOEFL test sampler, which has sample questions in it for each of the 4 sections, so that way you get just a hint or a little bit of an understanding of what would be required of you to answer in each section. For some students, they want more than just a few questions. They actually want to look at the free sample questions, or the second option here. And that's great because it does provide more questions in each section of the test that you can review to, again, make sure you understand what would be asked of you on test day. We also offer a free test prep planner. It's designed so that over an 8-week time period, for students who have a great deal of time to prepare for their TOEFL test, they can focus on the individual and specific skills during those 8 weeks through this guided lesson plan. Some students use it when they know they have less than 8 weeks and they focus on maybe a 2-week practice attempt or 4 weeks. All of that is permitted and perfectly fine. You'll find that the way that the book is structured, the test prep planner, you can look at those areas where you have your weaknesses and focus on improving those. Or for some students, they want to review all 4 skills. The choice is yours. Now, we also offer a TOEFL quick prep. Sometimes we know students don't always have a great deal of time to take their test between when they register and the actual test date, but they want to make sure that they are able to do their best. So they're looking for a shorter practice and review series, and that for us is our TOEFL quick prep. We had talked a bit before about other resources to prepare for the TOEFL test that will cost money. And in this case, we have items that are relatively inexpensive that can be bought through the ETS store online, or you can find them in your local bookstores. We use a publisher of McGraw-Hill to generate the official TOEFL test guide. You'll find that it not only is full of the questions that are examples that would be used on the test, but it also includes a practice CD that has actually, I think, 2 full-length tests on it so that you can try the test on your computer and understand and experience what it will be like on test day to click on the different answers, to scroll through the passage that you're reading, so that you will become familiar with the way that the test is delivered, and therefore on test day be much more relaxed and practiced in the way to take it. TOEFL Practice Online is an actual, truly online product that lets you have access to 1 full-length test. You do get feedback on your scores at the end, but again, it lets you experience what it's like to take the TOEFL test on a computer, to use the keyboard to create the answers. So definitely do take advantage of it, and it will take some of the fear out of the experience for a test taker. Now, in the case of some students, they want to take advantage of several of the resources that I've mentioned here. One way to do it in a most cost-effective way would be to participate in the TOEFL Value Packs. It allows you to group some of the different products that we've just discussed so that you have several resources at your disposal to be prepared for the test. And many times students ask us, why do universities value the TOEFL test? Well, it's been one of the premier English language assessments used worldwide since 1964. We have over 40 years of experience in evaluating non-native speakers and in universities using those scores to accept students to join their campus. We find that the test itself is objective and valid and reliable, so that the institutions have great confidence in the results that they're seeing from you. And you can find that we will do our very best to be fair and objective in evaluating your answers each time you take the TOEFL test. You'll also find that they like the fact, the universities do, that the test itself really reflects or mirrors exactly what you'd have on a university campus. Conversations between professors and students, opportunities to read a text passage, discuss it in a classroom lecture or classroom activity. Making sure that the conversations you have outside of the classroom are also relevant to your student life. It is definitely authentic academic material that we use to create our test questions. We typically use university texts, books, to gather that information in faculty lectures to then craft the material that we use in the design of the test. And above all, the TOEFL provides information to universities about your ability to speak, read, listen, and write in English. And that's exactly what they want. They want you to do well on their campuses from the very first day. And TOEFL will give them information about your ability to do just that. Now, I'm sure there'll probably be some more questions coming in, So I'm going to now take any that you have. Feel free to type away. I just again want to point out, as you can see on the screen, here is the TOEFLGoAnywhere.org website, which is that student registration website, the website you'll go back to view your scores, as well as the website that has good information about the whole process, from registration to test day to getting your scores and to sending your scores. So let's look at some questions that we have here. All right. Now here's the question asking where is our TOEFL? Oh, I understand. We use social media. So we have a TOEFL Facebook account, and actually a couple that students can use to interact with each other as peers, and also to talk about ways in which they found to do well on the test. You're also going to find that for some students, depending on where they are in the world, they might have other social media resources to use. But the Facebook pages are certainly helpful. We have the TOEFL YouTube channel, as I mentioned before, and certainly feel free, if you go on our website, to take advantage of the other technology that's made available. I have a question here asking, can I send my scores to the school I attend? And actually the answer is yes, you can. You will find that many of the schools do have a code number to receive a TOEFL score. That kind of information you can find out directly from the school itself, or also from our TOEFLGoAnywhere.org website. I have a question asking, how can I pay to register if I register online? The best way to do that, if you're registering online, is by credit card, and you'll find that the computer can take that information directly from you in a secure method, so that way the information is available. Let's see, here's another one. I have a question asking, I'm in Columbia now, where can I take the test? You'll find the current listing of the TOEFL test centers in Columbia on the website. As you can imagine, with over 4,000 test locations worldwide, I'm not going to know every location off the top of my head. But the nice thing is you can look at all of those test locations in Columbia by city. So you can look for the closest city to where you currently are, if you'll be testing soon, or if you know, for example, you'll be away for holiday soon in a different location and would like to test there, you can also look up that same information. And sometimes that is important. Sometimes students are studying away from home currently and they want to test in that new location. You can look for test centers throughout the world no matter where you are. Now, I have another question asking, how many universities can receive my TOEFL score? You can send your TOEFL scores to as many institutions as you wish. If you know on test day that there are 4 particular schools that you want to send your scores to, or less than 4, if you list those 4 institutions on your registration at that time, then those 4 score reports to the schools are sent for free. And they're sent out the same day that your scores are posted in the mail, posted online for your review. So roughly 10 days after you've taken the test. If on test day you're not sure which schools you want to send to, or you have more than 4 you want to send, then you can, after the test, log into your registration online, enter those additional school numbers, and send your score reports. Sending score reports after the test date, though, does cost about $20 US. So for each report, if you're sending 2 more reports, that would be $40 total American dollars. I hope that information helps you with that question. I have another question that's coming in asking, when When will I see my scores? You will see your scores online 10 days after you take the test. And when in doubt, though, we will always send you an email to let you know that your scores are now visible and available online. So sometimes students find it's just easier to wait until they get that email. All right, let me see if there are any other questions at this point. Okay. I have a question asking, can I send my, will I see my scores every time I take the test? Okay. The way that the TOEFL scores appear in your registration profile will be as each test day is a single event. So that means if you test today, your scores for today would be visible by themselves. If you also take the test 2 months from now, you can either look at your scores from today or your scores from 2 months from now, but you'll never on a single report see them together. Keep in mind that no university will see both scores on a single report either. We treat each test day and therefore the test scores from that day as separate events. Okay. Can I send my scores from one day to one school and my scores from another day to another school? The answer is yes, you can do that because you will see your scores and you are the one finding out what are the score requirements at each of the universities you're considering. You then have the ability to decide which set of scores you'll send to which university. Okay, let's see if there are any other questions. All right, I don't see any more coming in, but I do want to make you aware, if you do have questions that come to you after we conclude our time together, please send an email to us at TOEFL@ets.org. That way you can get your questions answered. I did have one more come in just now. A person is asking if TOEFL is just for postgraduate programs. Not necessarily. We have found that there are some universities who are using it for doctorates, masters, or bachelor's degrees. We've also had situations where we've had high schools, secondary schools, that might ask for students to provide a TOEFL score if they want to transition and complete their secondary school years with them. So there is a variety there. And there are also some scholarship or academic oriented programs that provide the opportunity for students to submit TOEFL scores, such as the Fulbright program, which is an outstanding scholarship opportunity. You might even have heard of the opportunities through Sciences Without Borders. They often require a TOEFL score. So it really does vary as to which programs require it, but always ask if they do, so that way you're prepared and can register in a timely manner to take the TOEFL test. Thank you so much for your questions. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today, and I wish you the best of luck on your TOEFL test.